What's up, guys? I hope you're well. Today we are checking out the 5 worst title defenses in F1 history. Oh, let's get into it, shall we?
Formula One drivers always say that the first title is always the hardest to win, especially in today's climate where one man seems to have a bit of a monopoly on them. But it's also true that winning a second title is also incredibly difficult. And although a driver will have the experience of a successful title fight in their back pocket, there's also a lot of luck involved too. Sometimes drivers don't manage to defend their titles successfully for one reason or another, and sometimes those title defences are particularly abject compared to the previous championship year. Of course, we're not taking into account instances where the driver left F1 at the end of the season, and we certainly respect the maximum of quitting when one is ahead. So let's take a look at 5 of the worst title defences in F1 history, and the stories behind why they were just so poor. Alberto Ascari, 1954. At the end of the 4th Formula One World Championship season, Ascari had already sewn up 2 world titles, having enjoyed phenomenal success at Ferrari. In 1952, he won 6 of the 8 races on that year's calendar, and was similarly irrepressible in the following season. Ascari knew that his stock had risen and figured that he was worth a lot more than Ferrari was paying him. Ferrari, of course, disagreed with its star driver, which led Ascari to his departure. Snapped up by the incoming Lancia team, Ascari was all set to pilot its new D50 car, but it would be a while before it was ready for competition. Ascari was resigned to missing the first 3 rounds, watching his title crown slip away with every passing race, before Lancia gave him the go-ahead to race for other manufacturers. He joined Maserati for 2 races, scoring a particularly fruitful 1/7, yes, a whole 7th of a point, having shared the fastest lap at Silverstone with 6 other drivers, and then returned fleetingly to Ferrari for his home race at Monza, which ended in a DNF. Lancia had its car ready for the final race of 1954 in Spain, and Ascari took pole and the fastest lap, bringing his points tally up to 1 1/7, but pulled over with clutch troubles just 9 laps in. As title defences go, Ascari's was over before it began for various reasons, but the Lancia looked promising for 1955. Sadly, Ascari perished in a testing accident after just 2 races, but the true potential of their combined efforts was never seen. Jack Brabham, 1961. After Cooper pioneered the rear-engine F1 car, the team was the class of the field, and Jack Brabham won 2 world titles on the bounce in 1959 and 1960. But with the switch to the 1.5-litre engine formula for 1961, and after the rest of the field had followed suit, opting to also install their engines in the back, Cooper's advantage was completely nullified. Instead, Ferrari, Lotus and Porsche pushed Cooper down the pecking order, with Jack Brabham a particular recipient of poor reliability throughout the season. His teammate Bruce McLaren enjoyed a better rub of the green and scooped up a solid number of points given the Cooper's deficiencies, but Brabham struggled, managing only 4 points over the 1961 season. As Coventry Climax's initial 1.5-litre engine was somewhat problematic, Brabham's total points haul was under 10% of his total from 1960, a 4th place at Silverstone ending up as his best result. Cooper's descent into obscurity had begun, and Brabham took designer Ron Tauranak with him to form his own team, ahead of the 1962 season. Jody Scheckter, 1980. After a thrilling battle for the 1979 title with Ferrari teammate Gilles Villeneuve, Jody Scheckter became champion by just 4 points. Heading into 1980, it was perhaps expected that Ferrari would continue in that vein, but there was an overnight shift in the team's fortunes as the ground effects revolution continued unabated. Ferrari's flat 12 engine at the time was particularly wide, and gave the aerodynamicists less space to exploit ground effects compared to the other teams. Meanwhile, the likes of Williams, Ligier and Brabham were all equipped with the much more compact Cosworth DFV, giving them ample opportunity to expand the ground effect concept at the rear of the car. In the early part of the season, Ferrari's car was also unreliable, restricting the amount of points that Villeneuve and Scheckter could score. By the time the reliability issues were somewhat alleviated, the Ferrari was way off the pace of the other cars, and Scheckter managed just 2 points, even failing to qualify for the Canadian Grand Prix. A stark contrast to the 51 points he'd managed just 1 year before. Ultimately, the 1980 Ferrari was so poor, Scheckter retired at the end of the season. He now owns a biodynamic farm in Hampshire, where presumably his tractor driving was helped by his experience in the 1980 Ferrari. Damon Hill, 1997. After winning the 1996 world title, Damon Hill departed Williams after the team elected to replace him with Sauber's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Having had offers from the likes of Benetton, McLaren and Jordan, Tom Walkinshaw's Arrows team swept in with a big money move to snare the reigning champion's services. Hill joined Walkinshaw's team, which had lofty ambitions to move to the front of the grid. Unfortunately, Arrows had neither the finances nor the car to make that shift to the front. The Judd-designed Yamaha engine was hardly blessed with power, and although Pedro Diniz's signing for the second seat was particularly lucrative, it didn't bestow the team with enough money to develop its A18 chassis into a world beater. Hill almost failed to qualify for the Australian Grand Prix as the car proved to lack downforce, but early struggles managed to subside slightly as he scored his first point for the team at Silverstone, albeit aided by Shinji Nakano's late retirement. 2 rounds later, Hill's 97 Magnum Opus approached. In Hungary's hot summer, the Bridgestone tyres were the ones to have, and Hill scorched into the lead. He all looked set to win, but a hydraulic issue let Jacques Villeneuve snatch the lead with a couple of laps to go.
Damn.
Hill managed just 7 points in 1997, 90 fewer than his championship
Wow.
year, so it was little surprise he left for Jordan the year after. Jacques Villeneuve, 1998. When Villeneuve won the 1997 title, few expected it to be Williams' last championship success to this day. But after Adrian Newey departed for McLaren, and after Renault pulled out and left the build of its engine to Mechachrome, 2 key ingredients of Williams' success in the 1990s had departed. Williams turned out in a new red livery, to the bewilderment of many, but it proved to be a harbinger of the team's downfall. Williams was distinctly 3rd best at the start of the year, and by a rather large margin, as McLaren and Ferrari took centre stage in the title fight. Villeneuve, who had scooped 7 wins in 1997 along with 81 points, was now left battling in the lower reaches of the points, managing just 21 for the season, as Williams endured its first winless season since 1988. But in the constructors' standings, Williams just managed to hold on to 3rd from a resurgent Jordan team and Mechachrome-powered rivals Benetton. But after all, it was a dramatic fall from grace for the team that had dominated just a couple of years previously.
Wow. That's crazy. That really sucks, though. I feel bad for those drivers that won a championship and then the following year they're just irrelevant and had, bad equipment or just bad luck. But yeah, I enjoyed that video. Hope you did too. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. Stay safe and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.